There he is.
Yep, episode 19. What's up, y'all?
Yes, baby. For those in Espanol,
In Espanol, push the SAP button.
you know what I'm saying, or the subtitles. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Just chilling. For those of you guys listening, welcome back. For those of you guys watching, what's up? Um,
What's up? Been a minute.
yeah, it's been a minute. We kind of took a break. Also, I mean, involuntarily, but voluntarily at the same time. This injury, I kind of just took about a week off. Let the last episode you saw me with the Lego hand, and yeah, little gator
No.
action going.
So how is that? No more Lego hand.
No, I mean I've got my stitches taken out. I'm working on my mobility, moving it. One of the biggest things they were talking about with this bone popping up. So what they did was they put they call it a nail, but it's pretty much if you picture like a borer bit, it's just like a long bit to go in the ground, and it has like it's like a screw, but I don't know why they call it a nail.
Does not
Anywho,
sound pleasant.
no, it doesn't. So 2 weeks after I broke it, they set it back in place manually, which was fun for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that the last time. And then I don't know, I'm just keep covering my face, but when I went back into surgery, it was about 2.5 weeks later, which was kind of frustrating on its own because I wanted to start healing right away. You know what I mean? And I had to wait a couple weeks for the surgery.
Hmm.
But I was going with the VA, giving them a shot. I heard the surgeon that was doing it was really good, so I kind of just stood by and see what they said, and I got a date, and I got a COVID test and all that stuff, so I was COVID free, which was
Yeah,
good.
there it is.
So that on
Good
its own,
for one chicken.
yeah, that on its own was kind of a bit nerve wracking, just because it's like any test, like in the military when you got your I know people are gonna be like, what the fuck? When you
STD
get your
test.
like AIDS test,
Yeah,
when
hell
they give
yeah.
it
What
to
do
you,
you mean? That's nerve wracking. What are you
it
saying?
is because you're just like questioning every like decision you've ever made, just like, and then and then with the military, it's like if they don't call you, then like no news is good news. So
Yeah,
you're
it's like, here we go again. They got to stick the Q-tip up my pee hole. Dang it. Dag nabbit.
so having said,
Allegedly. Allegedly.
yeah, allegedly
I
that
heard that's what
happened.
they do.
Yeah, I heard. I read that in a Reader's Digest.
Yeah, it's a fable somewhere about that.
Yeah, the old turtle and the Q-tip, eh?
Oh man. Turtle with
So
no sweater.
speaking of nerve wracking, I mean that was kind of what happened. And I was supposed to be notified within 24 hours, and I didn't get notified. And I got my test on a Wednesday. My surgery was on a Friday, and it was like an hour and a half surgery. I went in, and they put me under, and that woke up, and the pain was pretty nominal. I mean, I'm pretty sure they gave me a block, but you know, I didn't take really any medicine over the weekend. They gave me some medicine, but I really try not to take any if I don't have to. So I'd rather just deal with the pain if I can.
Yeah.
So
Take
that's
a
what I
couple
did.
pokes, took a couple hits to the bone or something.
Yeah, little bit of this, little bit of that, just hanging out,
You know
just
what you got.
really, yeah, I really focused on breath work is what I really did, which was just nasal breathing. And I find that does work and it does take practice, because your mind will start trailing. So you just kind of bring yourself back to it and just focus on your breathing is huge, man. And the more I do it, the more I realize how it helps with sleep, how it helps with like anxiety or any
Helps you
issues that come.
focus. It helps you focus, I believe, in like in a lot of different aspects of situations
Exactly.
you don't think breathing can help, and you just start breathing, and it channels
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah, so I just seen a YouTube. I know we're kind of going all over the map on this one, but that's what this is going to be about. We're going to be, hitting on a bunch of different things and then kind of end up in the end. But it's all going to be relative in the end. But
Absolutely.
um, I saw a video with a doctor. It was actually a TED talk that I saw, and it was about 4 or 5 years old. I'm actually gonna try to look it up right now while we're talking. It was about 4 or 5 years old, and he's talking about breathing, and he references like the VA, how the VA did this study, but he kind of goes also into just breathing in the sense of, but he was talking about how, special, I mean, I was in special forces and I supported him. He was talking about before they go into something, they do breath work, and how that benefits them to kind of stay focused and stay calm. And, relatively, everybody's got plenty to get punched in the face,
Yeah.
but I found that interesting. I also found it how he talked about, how the study and then parasympathetic and sympathetic states, what have you. But it was a really good video. It was about 18 minutes long. I posted it actually on my personal page on Facebook, just for like, raise awareness for family and what have you. And it's just kind of throwing that information out there if they can do with it what they choose. But it's all good information. There's a lot of data that supports it, and it kind of falls into a 10-year study that the VA did with the whole health. We're talking about bringing on one of your um, people you served with, and
Yeah, one of my fellow comrades,
yeah,
brothers in arms.
he served, or he served as well as, he's kind of pretty fluent in the VA ins and outs, is what I'm understanding. We're gonna hopefully try to get him lined up in the near future and try to bring that information to for those of you that may be listening, or just, and we'll kind of tie it in like we do with everything else, through mountain biking, what have you, and the process, and just try to bring really good information to you guys in any way we can. But it's called Breathe to Heal, and the person that is talking is Max Storm. That's a cool name, Max Storm.
Max Storm.
Yeah, Max Storm. It's a TED Talk, and yeah, it's about 19 minutes long. And if you guys, I'll post a link in the bottom in the description. But it's a pretty good video if you guys are kind of curious about that and how it could help you. And there's many applications for it. You don't have to be a veteran. You don't have to have trauma. You don't have to have any type of acute issues. But just the very basic idea of managing stress, just breathing in general could help you. And I heard this. I heard this before through like different programs, But at the same time, I was like, really, is this something that's simple that can help you? You know what I mean? Because I was still kind of programmed in the mindset like, just give me something to fix it. You know what I mean? Just give me. I want a quick fix. And I got time for like to
You
be
put this
breathing.
band over this real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep
So
it
I
moving.
was
Because I ain't got time to really try to heal. I just got time to endure the pain to finish out this task that somebody told me to do.
right, and when you get bombarded, I mean, as we do, and with any job, it don't have to be necessarily in the military. The military is a lot more stressful for some people. You throw in the traveling, and you throw in the different time zones, not sleeping, and managing different projects and doing more with less. That whole concept that, you know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that Swiss
Deployments.
Army knife.
Yeah,
Just
Swiss Army
supposed to,
knife.
yeah, we're supposed to be able to know how to do everything at a moment's notice and
Yeah.
be
I
able to
always,
separate and function.
I always find it funny when we go on deployments and you have those airmen and be like, "Oh, it's not my job." I'm like, you better fucking figure it out. You know
But
what I mean?
that's somebody.
Yeah, you're not like, you better learn how to do a bunch of different things. And that's one thing I like. Before I got out, I went to go talk to some young airmen, and there was a bunch of senior NCOs on the board, not the board, but kind of like sitting in front of it was an airman leadership school, and that was one of those like, hey, it's not my job. Look at it as an opportunity to kind of learn something new and then make yourself that much more marketable when you do get out. You touch, if you're a do CE stuff or civil engineering, learn
Yeah.
how like supply works, those are opportunities to learn all those different things. But
Yeah, man. And I was fortunate enough to be able to do that because I did 4 different jobs in the 13 years that I was in. So I went from maintenance to administrative to logistics to personnel. Like,
right.
so it was,
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you think about it, like, especially when I first got out, when I was having to think of the how to write a resume, I was like, I really didn't do anything. You know what I mean? But if you start to actually pick apart like what you actually did and write those down and be like, oh, they may not have the same terms as the civilian world, but those terms are a bit different. Like, but managing like I don't know a supply program. That's inventory. You know what I mean?
It's inventory all day. It is, yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just worded different in the verbiage. Like
Right.
applying for these jobs, it's probably taken me a good 3 years where I've been able to transform the military vernacular to the civilian common words and phrases that the corporate world uses. It's
Right.
a transition, but hey, we'll see. Cross your fingers. Got an interview Friday.
Oh shit. All
Got
right, here
some
you go. Good
cooking.
luck, man.
Got something cooking.
And how's the other business going? Is that slowing down because it's getting colder?
Cardenas Mas,
Yeah. How
actually,
do they need the mask?
like we're in this remote location, and this remote location is the founding, the where I got the process started. You know what I'm saying? I filed my paperwork and everything here. This basement is legendary already. So yeah, so we're
There you
waiting.
go.
It's about a 3 week process to get everything back, but I got my EIN number, declaration and all that stuff. So
Nice.
they're cooking, got some jobs ready to go later today,
Nice.
and keep shaking the tree. Went to
There you go.
went to California, picked up a yard out there in California. Nice little road trip.
Nice. How was that trip?
Man, it was long. It was really long.
So how many hours is that from
In
Kansas
total,
City?
it was 44 there and back.
How long did you go for?
3 days.
Ooh, man, it's a turn and burn, man. You were there for like 12 hours and then turned right back around.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah,
Dang,
cool though, man. Got to see family. You know what I'm saying? Got to see the Raiders stadium.
that's cool.
Yeah, I get excited quickly. So the hope was, I'm gonna go there. The Chiefs are playing the Raiders in Vegas, and then the Lakers are gonna win the championship, and I'm gonna be out there in LA. The Lakers lost on Friday, didn't win until Sunday when I came back, and the Chiefs played here in Kansas City. So
So
just
you were in LA or
yeah,
near LA?
yeah, yep, right out there,
How,
right outside of it.
were you able to go anywhere? Because I
Nah,
hear there's still
I
like in
didn't go out.
lockdown.
No, I didn't go out. I just drove to where I was going and then came back, went to my cousin's house and then came back home.
Well, shit, you're only there for like 12 hours. I guess you didn't have time to go
No,
out and you
no.
know, especially you're probably tired.
No, actually, no. It wasn't that bad. It was cool.
That's
I
cool,
wasn't in no
man.
rush, so
Right.
stop, break. Really waiting on this trailer coming down the pipeline. Then I really be straight.
There you go. Um, so what I've been up to this past month, because I
This
think that's the
year,
last time. It's
going
been
through the
about a month or going on a month.
yeah.
I just been rehabbing my hand, and just really kind of writing down ideas of future videos I need to do. Like I still need to finish putting the last episode together for the Can't Shred Ego series. I didn't finish that one, and I also need to finally finish putting my wife's bike together. Or I say but I mean I paid for the parts and shit. So,
Yeah, you all.
Crossroad, yeah, shout out to Crossroad Bikes for putting that bike together.
What up,
Um,
Crossroads? Y'all got any XL bike frames out there?
there you go. I think they might actually. They might actually have some, but I need to go in later this week because I'm going to sell my Diamondback. I had a shout out to James for coming over and helping me out, swap some stock parts back over to it. But I'm keeping a lot of the like like high quality components on there as far as like my fork. I have an Olin's fork on there.
Mm.
But I'm gonna sell that privately, just see what I can get for it, and then not sure what my next bike's gonna be. I have a few in mind.
You got to make sure to put the picture of it down there.
Yeah, yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But I got a few bikes in mind on which ones I'm gonna go with, and yeah, more to come on that. But so I figured I'd take this opportunity while I'm not riding and sell it. Right now, the frame's only like a year, maybe like little over a year and a half old. I mean, I did do some races with it. I have crashed it, but a lot of people have crashed their bikes.
True.
Um, one of the, but so more to come on that. But other than that, I've just been kind of processing some stuff, like one thing that I almost came to, when I was kind of sitting back and like thinking about this injury, the things I did wrong and what to fix going forward. I considered like quitting racing altogether, and not to say that I don't want to get hurt. That wasn't the reason for it. The reason was more so like, am I getting away from the idea of enjoying like riding? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It
am
was it
I
was almost turning into like a job, like a task. You know what I'm
right?
saying?
It's
As
especially
opposed
doing
to
so many
joy.
races back to back.
Yeah.
But I think I'm a lot smarter about it now. Going forward, and I don't want to mention it like too soon, but I was asked to be on a team, a racing team, so that kind of that kind of set me back into like excitement and what have you.
That's a
Race.
good setback.
Yeah, it's a good setback though.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be the one to mention that. It's not my place to do that. But I'm pretty sure it'll be coming out pretty soon. The announcement of the
So
team and what have.
congratulations.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Um,
Yes, sir.
but I really am gonna try to when I start racing again. It probably won't be till next year. I don't want to force it and end up re-injuring myself. So I really want to be smart about it. But at the same time, I'm going to focus more just on having fun. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna because I do get in the competitive mode. We talked about that. I mean, for
Yeah, I
those of
mean,
you guys,
it's inevitable. You know what I'm saying? So now I can just focus that energy, attempt towards somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Not competition. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
the risk of, totally putting you sidelined to where you can't even really ride, period. You know what I mean?
right. But I've also like there's some other things coming down the pipe as well as opportunities to for like videos and stuff. I have like all these different ideas that I want to do. So I'm pretty excited about like the foreseeable future as far as like just opportunities just to kind of be creative in whatever ways. But one good thing that came out of this crash is, or this latest injury was that I needed to be more well balanced. So I think did I mention this on the last episode where I was
A
talking
little
about?
bit. You kind of
Yeah.
touched on. Yeah, you kind of
So I
grazed.
started. Yeah, so I started doing those things. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see like I really started getting into just applying like things that I've learned over the years of different fitness activities that I've done through the military and just my own research. Just really trying to stabilize all my joints and like in the main moving parts when you're riding. So your hips, your knees, your ankles, your shoulders, elbows, and wrists. I think those are most of them. But just do banded exercises. It seems like I mean, as I know it's not the traditional like, hey man, what are you benching? Like bro exercise. And I do like to do stuff like that, but this is more so like to strengthen my base before I start riding again, just to prevent injury.
I'm all
So
about and all for that, man. Strengthening your base, your core, like your elasticity, all that, making sure, ain't nothing gonna pop when you're out there. So, you gotta
yeah,
it's not the broest of exercises, rolling around with a rubber band and a little stability ball on your
right.
back.
Oh,
But
they're
hey,
tough though, man. They're tough, especially if you try to hold it. You know. So I've been doing like luckily, not luckily, but my wife has been doing together programs and stuff like that to work out, which I'll probably work out today. But also, I kind of got creative on y'all seen this, just drawing on this like half cast splint thing.
yeah, that would terrify a small dog.
Yeah,
Yeah, would
my
terrify
nephew has a good time with it. He thinks it's pretty funny.
the show.
But yeah, man. I about to order some stuff too because I kind of want to start. I mentioned this to you earlier. I want to start having like some of these podcasts, outside. But I have to consider audio. I don't want to be restrained to
Remote
just
locations.
right. I don't want to be just constrained to here. I guess that would be. I would have to figure out a way to record and then put it on because unless I tether from my phone, because Wi-Fi is going to be necessary. I'll figure it out. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
What
But
do you forecasting? What you got on the docket for Veterans Day this year coming up?
So Veterans Day, I was trying to line up something with Jonathan Hagerman to do like an interview because he's really busy. He's got, I mean, he's just got a lot of stuff on his plate. Not only running a nonprofit, he's got a regular job, and then he also has 3 kids, one on the
Mm.
way.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And yeah. So it's definitely he's definitely got his plate full. So we were supposed to gonna try to squeeze one in for Veterans Day, but I was like, let's just push it till afterwards, and I don't want to rush it and force it, and it's just it's not fun. You know what I mean? You're trying to
Yeah.
squeeze in a small window, and I'd rather just kind of take our time with it and do it right. But on another note, more to come on that. I'm excited. I'm just trying to line them up so we can just have a consistent, maybe at least the next 5 to 6 episodes. I also want to drive to Austin and interview a couple folks. Again, trying to get within their schedules or what have you. But yeah, I'm just trying to, bring more information than just us two talking.
I should be marketing this company called Press to Impress. I should have like this hoodie on or something,
Oh,
advertising. Like, yeah, it's
what
this
is Press to Impress?
it is a company, an LLC that pretty much can print anything that you want. It could be on your mask, it could be on your shirts, clothes, hats, hoodies.
Oh, nice. What
Yeah,
what do they use for the like? Is it the iron on, or is it like stitched, or is it
it's an iron-on. It's like
okay?
digitally designed iron-ons.
Let me see. Oh, you have this hoodie on right now?
Nah,
Oh,
but he has
you have a
but I'm
motto back
being
there?
told no. I'm being told no. This is wrong. I'm sorry. Would you like to explain? I'm sorry. What? Sublimation.
Sublimation. What is sublimation?
What is? I'm not. I don't. It
I
sounds pretty impressive, but all
yeah,
the
it
designs are
sounds.
pretty cool.
I'm gonna look up what sublimation is. Do a little. Maybe we'll all learn something together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sublimation. Sublimation ink.
Yes.
Sublimation ink
It does.
is so sublimation is a transition of a substance directly from a solid to a gas state without passing through the liquid state. So it's almost like it fuses to the material. Let me see what we got here.
It is. Yeah. You can't feel anything. You can't feel the letters or nothing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's
Nice.
in there.
So you don't have any problems with like cracking or when you dry it or nothing like that, like you do with iron on.
No,
I'm assuming.
it never
Awesome.
fades or nothing.
That's nice, man. Yeah, maybe
Press to
we.
press.
I do want to like. I do have some thoughts for apparel. That I've been kind of kicking around. Maybe we can do something there.
Yeah.
More to come on that.
More to come to that.
Well, we're doing plugs for companies.
Yeah.
I got this from UCANA. Well, I got
Okay.
it from the Dirt Therapy Project, but it was in a gift package. I'm trying to really get because it's got like a reflective material, so it's kind of hard to see. But this is a CBD oil that is like just like a I don't know, like a lotion, and a little bit goes a long way.
I can't smell it, but it
You can't.
look yeah,
It's
it
got a
looks
mint. It's got a menthol smell to it, and it's like a cooling. It's almost like a Bengay, but a more natural.
okay.
It's THC free, so if you're thinking about getting, you think you're gonna get drug tested, that's what they usually test for is the THC. But don't quote me on that. Go find out what your company guidelines are and make sure that you're not doing anything. Because I know some government people can't even do CBD. I remember seeing the letters and stuff before I got out. But this
I
company,
used it for my beard.
yeah, there you go. UCANA is also veteran owned.
There it
Um,
is.
you can follow them on Instagram. I'll put a link down below. But this stuff, I've been using it on my hand. I'm obviously not on the where the stitches were, but stuff works pretty good. Muscle aches, sore joints, like most veterans have. My necks, I put stuff on my neck before I go to sleep and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's been curtailing like a lot of like the minor aches and stuff that I usually have. Again, like because I try not to use any type of. I don't even use ibuprofen anymore if I can help it.
Sin pastillas para mí también.
Yeah, man.
I don't take the pills, man. Like,
Yeah, if I really need it, like if I'm hurting bad, like when we went to Angel Fire, um, dude, I was on after the first day, and it was a combination of I was riding a new bike, and I had in hindsight, I had the fork pressure too high, so it was just like beating the crap out of me for the first day, and the second day I adjusted it, but that night I was literally, I mean, you can ask any of the guys that when we went with, I was on the floor, rolling out on somebody's foam roller. You see that I got a little movement going.
yeah, there
So
it is.
yeah, yeah. So I was on somebody's foam roller like for a good majority of that night, all the way before I went to sleep. I did, but that night I couldn't sleep because my back was so stiff. I didn't think I was gonna be right the next day. I think I mentioned this before, but yeah, I took like 200 milligrams or 400. It was very like minimal as opposed to when I used to take like 1600, 1800, milligrams.
Sheesh.
And when, you know what I mean? Like, cause that was vitamin M, I got to keep moving. But anywho, going back to this is a good product. I've been using it for about 2 weeks. All the other guys that have used it, shout out to the Dirt Therapy Project for this
What
little
up,
care
Dirt
package.
Project?
Yeah,
Extra
so
large frame, baby. Extra large frame.
extra large frame. So yeah, man, I really love this stuff, and it's pretty cool. I don't know what it goes for right now, but it is going to a good cause. These guys are obviously noticed the common thing with veterans and finding natural ways to deal with the minor aches, well, not minor, but sometimes chronic pains that veterans deal with or what have you. Just beating up your body for X amount of years.
Yeah, gotta know how to, curve that sharp pain if you can. Just
Yeah,
regular
yeah,
pain.
definitely. But have you been writing at all lately?
Man, nah, I've been so busy. And it's
Yeah,
been cold. It's been kind of cold. I was kind of thinking maybe tomorrow I might try to attack it.
that was gonna be my next question. What's the weather like up there?
Yeah, it snowed the past couple days. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah, I'm going to try to attack it probably tomorrow. Let's see.
dude, I wanna, cause I'm pretty confident writing with one hand, but I don't want to chance it.
Triple OG over there. Triple OG. Gangster.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just writing down with one hand, waving at people. But I was thinking about just writing my hardtail, just on the street and stuff. But I've been running on the trails with Lotus, and I mix it up between that working out in our little gym here. Just trying to do whatever I can to kind of keep my stamina up.
What's the weather down there?
We just finally got a cold front, quote unquote. I mean, it's a cold front for Texas. It's probably been in the 50s, maybe. And I think it's nice. It kind of reminds me of living in Boston, just in the fall, what have you. You had that cooler weather. I mean, pretty sure it's similar to Kansas City. Is it real windy in Kansas City? Do you have trees there?
It can be. We do have trees. Yes, in
Okay.
some areas. Yeah. Yeah, but now it's like mid to low 40s right now.
Okay. And what does it get at night?
Tonight's gonna get down to about 28, 37.
Okay. So, um, have you voted yet?
No.
Okay. I voted, or we voted last Friday,
Yeah,
and
I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
yeah,
I'm one of those.
kind of like I don't know. For me, it's kind of a shit sandwich again this year.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways,
And hey, and I'm not hiding behind no mask or saying nothing. No, I'm one of those. No, man, I've never voted in my life, bro.
I guess that's a choice as any, like freedom. You have the right to vote. You don't. It doesn't say you must vote.
Yeah. I
But
mean, when I say that, people look at me, what? Huh? What? You a veteran?
yeah,
Nah, hey,
no, yeah, I understand it. I mean, I don't judge. It's to each person to want to vote or not. I'm not gonna. It's just like with any other choice. You know what I mean?
it is.
It's
It is.
but I mean that's your right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have the option to. Yeah. Is it affecting my way of life since I have not, or have I? I don't know because I never have. Who knows? If I vote, different things might come my way. Different, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I understand it either way, but as far as riding goes, have you been looking at any like new bikes or anything, or just kind of took a break on that as well?
Yeah, I took a break on that as well.
Yeah.
I was thinking of like modding my mine up, like refurbishing some stuff on mine, like maybe getting some new tires because I haven't had new tires on there in probably about 6 years.
Dang. Well, hopefully they didn't start dry rotting.
They are a little bit, so that might
So,
be the gist of me just changing my tires out, new inner tubes.
so that's when like one of the things I kind of like lead into is like after injury, you're kind of, at least for me, like I had to take a break from it. I was kind of upset with myself for a little bit, just because didn't want to watch like anything with mountain biking. It was tough to watch other people having fun,
I can
and
see that. I can see that.
but it's definitely important to, along with finding other ways to kind of curtail like whatever, like substitute riding with something else, because if an injury happens, like try not to make riding everything, because after an injury happens, if you put riding and everything and then you don't have anything to sustain you for stress wise, then you're going to be in pretty worse shape. But having said all that, one of the things to do, especially when you're hurting, is try to make take the opportunity to fix your bike. You know
True.
what I mean?
Go
So right,
constant.
so go through it. I mean, depending on what your injury is, but that's one way to kind of still be therapeutic, is because I enjoyed working on my bike prior to. So that's one of the things to do, especially after a crash. You want to go through, you want to check, to see if anything's loose, see if anything's bent, broken, anything's scratched and it may need to be repaired, or
Is there anything
just.
broken, damaged too badly on your bike?
I have a scratch on my top tube, that you can see the metal, but if it's a mountain bike, you know what I mean. Most, like, remember we had that one episode about, um like, you're gonna have scratches on the frame. I mean, as long as they're not like too bad where it's like cracking the frame or anything like that. So the metal is exposed on the top tube on my bike. Other than small scratches along the rear triangle, which is the back part of the bike where the rear wheel is. I've just went through everything. I checked everything. Everything's still lined. The only thing that I was pretty pissed about and I noticed right afterwards was I did scratch my fork. I
Mm.
scratched, like, other than it's called the lowers, the the lower part of the fork so the lower is like, I don't know if it's plastic or some type of composite that goes over the steel. But remember we had that one episode where yeah, whoa, what were you doing? Yeah, yeah. So for those of you guys listening, I was making this gesture like I was, milking a cow. So Chug,
Yeah, let's say that.
yeah,
Let's say
called me on it.
milking a
Yeah,
cat.
like I was milking a cow, but you can plug in your milking, picture there. So yeah, I kind of set myself up on that one.
That was a good one. You did
Yeah,
that very
thanks.
well. You did that very well.
Thanks. I've been practicing,
Yeah.
but I did scratch the stanchion. However, there's a however comma. I've had two direct right after I did it at the Flat Creek Crossing race. When I scratched the stanchion, I the stanchion is the metal above the fork between the crown, or the, what's it called, the steer tube, and the, it's just the part where the fork like slides in and out on the metal part. I scratched that part, but
Hmm.
I had one bike shop and suspension look at it, and they said it's not that bad, like it's probably doesn't have to be repaired, because it is scratched, but it's not like you can put your finger in it and it's not like jagged. So the problem usually with that is when it's sliding in and out of the bushings on the fork, it could start cutting the seals, and then you have to keep replacing the seals because then you're going to start losing air, losing oil, what have you. So they're like, so there's two things that's a positive about this scratch is one, is not deep enough, and two, it's at the top part of the travel. So meaning that if it was at the lower half where it's right next to that, the lowers, and I'll put a picture here, the
Mhm.
lowers, when you're riding, that part of the stanchion is going to be going in and out because that's where the start of the travel is. But since it's at the top part of the fork, you would have to be one, either riding the bike with no air in it and then going through all the travel because this is 160 millimeters of travel. So you would have to be jumping all the time for the travel to be going all that way down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to
So
be pressing it that
right,
much. Yeah,
right. So if it's at the top part of it, it's not less, it's less likely to go through all of its travel unless you, like I said, you're jumping all the time. But even with that, again, it's not that deep enough where it's gonna cause issues with the bushings. So I kind of dodged a bullet there. The only thing is that some people might work me down with the price, which I'll understand. You know what I mean?
I mean, but hey, it has a story. So
Right. It has a
as
story
our
with it.
mountain bike should, they should have a story.
And the caveat to, well, not the caveat, but the positive is that fork is a really good fork. It's a Olin's RXF 36. So the diameter in the tube is better for like stiffer after, like to and fro. So like the fork, it like when it's on the front of the bike, I'll put a picture up. Like let's say this is the fork and then this is the frame. I know my hand's kind of crooked. So if you guys can see, I'm just kind of making a little angle. I mean, if you guys can listen to, I'm making like the fork on my right hand. Anyways, long story short, when it flexes, in and out like so, um, that's called like the stiffness of like front and rear, like on the headset. So
Mm.
that part being thicker, or the 36, the diameter being bigger, it's stiffer, is the way I understand it, than a fork that was like let's say a rock shock pike, which is smaller in the diameter. I think it's like 32 or something, or 34. I don't know, but I put some pictures in here.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of
I'm
positives.
gonna have to watch it to see what you're talking about as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of positives on that type of fork, and it's better for bigger hits. Like meaning, like if you're jumping off something, it's like butter. Like when you're like jumping off a big jump or what have you. It's just a small bump compliance, meaning like when you're just riding the bike over like just rocks, like a regular ride. That's a little bit not as plush as some forks. So those are the pros and cons of this specific fork. But every fork is going to have its goods and bads. So, but overall, it's a good fork. It's runs for about, like if you were to buy it right now, even though it's a few years old, it's about the last time I saw it on eBay, it was like average about 1,000 to 1,200 bucks just for the fork.
Sheesh, that's more than my whole bike.
Yeah, so um, it's like the quality of it's like really good. However, just like with technology, there are better forks now out there. So having that on the Diamondback, will up the sell value on it. And I put, my stock bars back on there, or like, different bars, because I kind of customized it to me as far as like, the bronze bars and things like that.
Mhm.
But I kind of put it all the way back to like general settings, if you will, but aside from the bigger fork. So it'd make it more sellable, if you will. So
So what's
I,
on the horizon? You planning to get another one? What do you
yeah, I'm
big
planning
boy?
to get it.
The
I'm
big boy
planning.
type?
Yeah, I've been looking. I've been, going through different bikes. There's a couple that I've been looking at, which was the Pivot Switchblade, 2021, I believe. the pivot switchblade, I'm kind of drawn to that one because it it's designed to pull it in mullet. Mullet is
Sorry,
you
what?
have a mullet setting on a bike is you have a bigger wheel on the front than the rear wheel, and not all bikes you can do that with without changing the fork in the front, like the length of it. There's all these different things you have to do to make it. Um, because when you make a bike mullet, there's a few things that pop up, and those few things is when you're climbing, since you're changing the headset angle of the bike and then more steeper or more slack as they call it. When
Hmm.
you're climbing, your front tire will be coming off the ground a lot more because you're messing with the geometry of the bike. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the mullet in this case, a lot of bikes now are coming with 29-inch wheels. So there's two big, like two wheels in the market right now that people go with. It's 29 and 27 and a half. Right now, well, the switchblade, pivot switchblade comes with 27.5 tires, I believe. But you can put a 29er on the front, and there's a thing on the back. It's called a flip chip. So you can flip it and adjust the height of the bike to adjust for a mullet style setting. So that's one positive of it. I'm also
That sounds pretty intense. So you're gonna be kind of like this,
yeah,
like tilted a little bit to
and
go up
yeah,
hills more.
yeah.
That's
So
the benefit
it
of that.
adjusted right. So it adjusted for those things. It makes it pretty easy. Like for just you don't have to take it to a bike shop and do all that stuff. You just like bam, bam, change two different things: the tire or the wheel, and then the flip chip in the back. I've always been, I'd say the past year and a half, I've been considering doing mullet, and the benefits about mullet is more so for like racing,
Hmm.
just to go faster. But the benefits with that is having a bigger wheel on the front. You're able to go over obstacles faster. Like so, if you have a 27.5 front tire or front wheel, when you're going over certain obstacles, it's not as efficient as a 27 as a 29er. Just think about like a roll of toilet paper rolling over something. You know, the
Yeah,
bigger the
the better.
roll, the easier
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. The bigger the dookie, the bigger the roll.
Yeah, pretty much. So that just factoring that in, like I've always kind of been drawn to it from that, like wanting to experiment. I wanted to do it with the Diamondback, but I just had to do too many things, and I didn't want to have to do all those things just to uh,
Have you ever test rode one before? Have you ever ridden one?
pivot switchblade.
Yeah, the one where it's yeah,
No, oh, you're talking about the mullet style.
the mullet style.
No, I haven't yet. But I would want to, and if I were to get that pivot switchblade, that's kind of I have that opportunity or that option to do that very pretty easily. Another bike I'm looking at, and this one kind of just recently because they're kind of around the same price range, is a Pivot Firebird. A Pivot Firebird is the only thing I don't like about it is the travel in the front is 170, and I'm trying to stay at 160 because 160 is more. Even though it's a lot of travel for around here, most of the riding I do, I still like to have that option where I can go to bigger bike parks and I can still and still have a good time and not having to worry about the front like travel. 170 might be too much for me because I do more regular riding than racing. So 170, it because you have 170, it's kind of more of a beast to climb. Although I do hear that both those bikes climb really well, so it may not be an issue. Um, just because the more slacker the bike, it's harder to turn and it's harder to climb. That's usually the case. They usually weigh more. But so there's that. Those two. Another bike I was also looking at is the Specialized Stump Jumper Evo, and that one's the 2021 model. It comes out like where you can. It's like real modular in the sense that you can um, adjust the headset angle with just flipping like little the headset cup around, and you have
Hmm.
like it changes the front of the bike by I think it's a degree and a half or a degree. And that's pretty huge. Like, so if you want to do more like trail riding, you have it in the less lesser degree of the angle.
So
Or
like,
higher.
so it changes the whole suspension just by the clicks of it.
Well, no, just the headset. It's like a cup in the front. I'll put a picture here, and you can just turn it around, and then it sets in there, and then it adjusts the pitch of the front fork. Oh, just a
Okay.
hair, and then you also have a flip chip in the back, so you can also do the same thing as a pivot switchblade. And then a lot of the reviews that are coming out about it are like just like real like positive, and like everyone's saying they love the bike. Another thing it comes with is 29ers. They no longer do the 27.5. So I didn't see if you can do mullet. I think you can, but we'll see. And then the last one I'm looking at is a Gorilla Gravity Smash. Yeah, so that's a new company that's based out
Really
of
gravity smash. That
yeah,
sounds intense.
yeah, it's a company out of Colorado. They relative to the other companies I mentioned, such as Pivot and Specialized are like the boutique brands, like those are the like the I don't know bougie ones, I guess, of mountain biking. I don't know what else to like. I can't come up with another term right now. But I mean, they're bougie for a good reason. I mean, they put a lot of their engineers put a lot of work into the frames, and they really get them dialed so you have the best of both worlds, and it's kind
High
of more
quality.
all around.
High
Yeah,
quality.
exactly.
High
But
quality.
Gorilla Gravity is a fairly new company. They came out of the aircraft industry, is the way I understand the story, and they have carbon frames, but they not I don't say revolutionized, but they streamlined the carbon frame making process so they're not as expensive as other bikes that because most bikes are made like in China, Taiwan, and the way it works is said company says such a specialize or pivot. I mean, I could be talking out of my ass here, but I'm pretty sure they're made out of like those countries, and they send them the specs of how they want them made. They make a whole bunch of frames, and then they send them back to X companies, and then they build up the frame from there. But with Gorilla Gravity, they make everything in house, and they're American made. Out of Colorado, and they one thing that I'm really gravitated towards them. Gorilla Gravity, get that?
Really
Um,
gravity.
yeah, yeah. See what I did there?
It's real gravity, baby.
They 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 encourage the consumer to hack. They call it hacking, to like experiment with the bike, and they make the bike in such a way. I was talking about the flip cup in the front of the Specialized stump jumper, where you
Hmm.
can adjust the front. They've been doing that for like 3 years, and I don't know how long Specialized has been doing it or who came out with it first, but it at least in the sequence that I or sequential order that I remember is special Gorilla Gravity doing it first. So they have that front, and then they have the rear flip chip as well. And I don't know what they call it. They might have called it something else, but you can change the back of it too. And so one thing I want to go with, I'm considering that company is because if they're encouraging the hacking thing, to hack the bike and like
Specialize for yourself.
right,
Yeah,
if they're encouraging that, then if something goes wrong with it, they're more than likely to warranty the frame. Does that make sense?
yeah.
And I know with like Pivot, there's like a long process as far as like if you break the frame or whatever, they want their frame back, which I understand their logic with it. They want the frame back. They want to see what happened to it, and then they kind of put it through all these tests, and then they figure out how it broke, and then they'll send you a new frame based off of that. Or if they see that you just did something stupid, you know what I mean, then they kind of put it back on the owner a little bit,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people that do dumb stuff. I mean, me included. So
It happens.
yeah, it happens. So those are some
You
of
know what
the.
else happens? They also donate extra large frames sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Shout out, donate extra large frame,
Yeah,
baby.
man, I'm gonna keep an eye out and see if I can find any. Because if you get the frame, you can just start building it up little by little.
I know. This is about to be, this is a good season. It's about to be cold most places. So, donate frames here to this address.
Yeah,
We can start this shop going on.
yeah. I
Yeah.
put your email address in there. I don't know about the
Yeah.
People showing up at your house.
Yeah. No, hey, or, just we can come pick it up. We can load up my truck and we can come pick it up.
So another thing I want to, there you go. We'll see. So if there any sponsor out there want to give him an extra large frame, he's really trying to get into mountain biking.
Yeah,
See
I'll be right
him,
there.
see him get some crashes in.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, but another thing that's I wanted to kind of start talking about also was there's been like one of the last episodes we were talking about e-bikes. I think it was the last episode. So I misspoke on some things. There is e-bike racing in the EWS, the Enduro World Series. I think I put a picture on in the last video, but that has been around for at least a few years now. So I'm a bit out of date on that. So e-bikes is a big thing that's becoming pretty big around here, and it's starting to cause some controversy with some trails, because even though they're pedal assist and they're battery operated, like other people are trying to jump on that and say like motorized vehicles should be allowed to. So there's some kind of back and forth with that. I'm not really sure how that's going to work out, but I've noticed that most e-bikes, I mean, they don't really tear up the trails or anything. A motorized vehicle, I mean, you kind of start factoring in, emissions. You start factoring in, obviously speed. Someone's coming around a corner, one guy's going
engines. But I mean, that could be minimized to the CC of the motorized engine, but I guess it's going to have to be minimized to the size of the battery on these motorized bicycles now.
Well, the catch with the CCs and the battery is the hackability, or like, so even if, let's say somebody buys a bike that's motorized and it's like, I don't know, I'm not really that familiar with bikes, but let's say it's like 30 cc's or whatever, or 20 cc's, whatever like the minimum is that they allow. Somebody could make some modifications to the bike, and even those manufacturer specs say is 20 cc's or whatever the number is. Then somebody can modify it. But also that could happen with e-bikes as well. But I mean, it's all really based off of trying to keep people safe, I believe. But
I saw an e-bike go by me probably about 23 miles an hour the other day. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. So I've seen people smoke, like, not smoking, but like going pretty fast, on some of them. Like on one of the local trails here when I was riding, I don't even know what kind of bike it was. It might have been an e-bike, but dude, he was trucking pretty good, man. He was probably going like 30, because I pulled over because like I don't like people right on my ass, you know what I mean? So I just pulled over and he like zoomed by me like nothing, man. And it's kind of like I'm all for people.
Bottom of the bike.
Yeah, I'm all for people getting outside and doing that, but at the same time, like, can't really be an idiot about it either, because then you're gonna ruin it for other people. Because people are gonna see that bike, and then they're gonna be like, "Oh, I saw." They don't know what they don't know what an e-bike is, and then they classify that as an e-bike, and they start complaining to park rangers or whoever, and then all of a sudden it's all for everyone. So
I'm not too sure, but I think some of the bicycles here that you can rent around the city are e-bikes.
They probably are. Yeah,
they're like assisted a little bit.
Yeah, it's like here in San Antonio, a lot of the bikes here or downtown are like a battery operated, or not battery operated, but e-bikes. They're like pedal assist.
Yeah.
But man, those like bird scooters, those things are dangerous. I see people on them all the time with no helmet, and I'm like,
you're right on. They are everywhere.
Yeah. So they're kind of becoming a nuisance here in the city as well.
I remember when they came out in Spain, like 2 summers ago. They came out and they were cool at first,
right?
And like you said, they became a nuisance because they were everywhere. People were just leaving them everywhere, right in front of the street, right in front of the store, everywhere.
Yeah, I know. Like, I have a family member that works for the city, and he works for a transportation system, and he was telling me about how people were leaving them like in places where, like on the sidewalk or what have you, just thrown there, and they're having issues with people with disabilities, like in wheelchairs or what have you, and not being able to get around them, and having to try to drag them out of the way, and just people I don't know, they just do dumb shit.
People do dumb shit.
So I don't know, man. Hold on. I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick, dude. We could have also got into some other stuff. I've been watching some, like, not watching, but listening to some crazy interviews. I've been listening to Kanye West. He's been on a podcast that I've been watching. It's actually, once he kind of got guided as far as like what he, because he talks about a bunch of different stuff. It's hard to follow, but once he kind of gets corralled in, yeah, I can see why he sees things a certain way. It's actually a pretty interesting podcast. I try to give everyone like a, you know what I mean, an opportunity to kind of, listen to. Like, I even saw an interview because I mean, not for nothing. I've been kind of talking shit about Kim Kardashian for a while. Like, just not in this sense publicly, but more so just like, oh man, whatever, whatever. But
Yeah.
I saw on Netflix there's a show called like Our Next Guest or My Next Guest or something. It's David Letterman interviewing like
Oh
he
yeah, yeah. I checked that out a couple times.
yeah. I saw one with Dave Chappelle. That was a really good one. Um, and then I saw one with Kim Kardashian, and there's parts where it's kind of like, so like fake or whatever. But at the same time, like there was opportunities where I was like, well, I can see why she sees things that way, or she feels a certain way about something based off of like her life experiences or what have you.
Man, I saw the interview between Dave Chappelle and Maya Angelou. It was pretty
What,
interesting.
where was that at? Like on,
It was on YouTube.
I'm gonna look that up.
Man, it was pretty. It was he was like so starstruck, and like this public figure of America, and she was so starstruck to the point of she knew how big of a person he was gonna be. This was like years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. The two different generations knowing how great one is. Oh, that was pretty interesting. Like to live without limitations, pretty much, but to embrace the elders of where we coming from, and where we trying to go.
I wonder what that is. Like, do you think it's? Do you feel it's like something that it's? You ever hear the like? They reference it in football all the time. Like, oh, he has the it factor. You know what I mean? He walks into a room, everybody.
Kavorka, yeah, it's Kavorka, and
Kavorka.
the in my mind, and it's the ability to embrace your Kavorka in situations that you're good at.
So yeah, I gotta look. I remember looking up that word. I remember you used it before, and so I know what it means. It's just kind of like there's another word for it, like charismatic. Someone is like has charisma, I guess. Is
In one aspect, it can be, but it's just like something within you that people are drawn to. Like you might not even have to say anything. It's just something internally, something in your spirit that people are drawn to.
right. Do you feel that that's do you feel that that could be like, I mean, depending on your belief system, do you feel that could be like your soul has gone through more journeys or more experience than others, or do you feel
Absolutely,
or
absolutely. Like without hesitation, man. That question, yeah.
right? Because I mean, it wouldn't, that would make sense, because why wouldn't everyone have it? You know what I mean?
Because everybody's not, everybody doesn't have that to experience. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's not willing to embrace it either. You got to seek out it too.
You think so?
Yeah, you have to kind of seek out to be the only thing, and then when you are the only thing, it makes you that much more intriguing.
What do you mean by the only thing?
Look like the best at something, like number one. You know what I mean? Like to stick out, so people will see you. But then you could just be doing the normal thing, and people will see you as well. But at the same time, you're still sticking out because you're different anyway. You can't
Mm.
help it.
Do you feel that that could cause like people like to view you either in a negative or positive way? You know what I mean? Like, do you feel that everyone will receive it as positive? Like, this person is a good person, or do you feel that?
Nah, it
I
could be.
guess it could go
I
back to
mean,
both.
but I mean, with the positive and the negative, that's relative. Like somebody could come at you with negative energy, but they might be coming at you with negative energy because they know you can handle it and you can take it.
But at the same, well, I guess I was meaning like I guess while I was thinking about it, I was answering my own question. Like, so even person with that ability, Korvorka, the term you used, um, it could be used in a negative or positive way, right, to influence others,
You can, yeah, absolutely can.
right? So I
It's
guess it
just
would,
how you choose to use your superhuman power, buddy. Because we all have them.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, everyone has the opportunity to be positive or negative, I guess. Yeah, man. So some of the other things I've been podcasts I've been listening to. So that Kanye West was one. I'm still actually listening to that. And then he just talked about it. Kind of reminded me. Remember Mace, the rapper?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
he kind of the what I read. Part of his story. He was talking about when he shifted to be a preacher. How he was in a room with some female, and then all of a sudden he realized that that's not what he needed to do anymore, and he shifted to be a rapper. I haven't followed him since, so I don't know. Like,
MC Hammer too. Shouts out MC Hammer. He was a
there you
preacher for
go.
a little
Uh
bit.
oh. Uh oh. Uh oh.
That's why
So,
pray, pray.
so it sounds like that's where Kanye is at right now. And like I said, along with Kim Kardashian, I haven't ever really, because I just would hear the one bite. Like I listen, I maybe liked his first album,
Mm.
but the albums after that, it kind of sounded like very egotistical. So I kind of stopped listening.
He's not reinventing the wheel. There's
Right. Right.
there's been artists, you know what I'm saying, to use something to catch people's attention, and then they try to turn it religious because, hey, at the end of the day, it's less taxes to get all the money.
That's one thing I thought about. But he was actually talking about like building um places like schools, and he's built like a church, and he's building like, but within the schools he's teaching like the kids physics, and like from a very basic level he's trying to, it sounds like he's trying to be a philanthropist. I'm not much sure how much of it is coming from a negative place or a positive place, but he
Yeah.
said it like it's his calling, like God like wants to him to do these things, and I really don't know his motive. I mean, it could be a good thing. Shit, I mean, we need more people like, in the sense of coming from a good place and trying to help people
Yeah,
nowadays, probably more
as
than ever.
opposed to him just just sitting on his public speaking and his public talent, just
Right,
totally just monetary in your show. All right, he's going to use that to do other things as opposed to just sitting in his house with all his money and his family.
right,
Staying active.
yes. So no, I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. He just staying active at the at the end of the day.
Right, and it sounds like he's doing good things. I mean, only time will tell. We'll see what happens with it. But he was also talking about like running for president. But anyways, he gets into all that in this last this podcast or what have you. But I was also listening to uh just different
Oh, Joe
speakers.
Rogan. You sent me a link on Joe Rogan. I can't admit that I've watched it, but you sent me one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's one of the ones that like one of the main ones I listen to, and it's I agree with his approach, and I agree with a lot of stuff he says as far as really trying to get to the root of it and understanding like what how providing people an opportunity to say what they need to say, and um because based off of a lot of different things that I've heard and I've researched on my own, as far as like freedom of speech being like pretty much taken away from people being deplatformed on YouTube and Twitter, etc. And he was one of the latest things he was saying is that the social media needs to be put into the First Amendment. I mean, that's why the Constitution is there. I mean, you make amendments to it, and no amendments have been made to account for technology nowadays. But with all these private organizations such as Twitter and YouTube and you know Instagram or what have you, like Facebook, people getting deplatformed, and now there are a group of people that it's kind of like, where do you draw the line? Like, if you want to kind of get into QAnon and like the belief systems, I mean, whether you agree with it or not, But it's kind of like, do you really want to push these people off platforms where they can go underground and talk about these things and nobody's like really tracking what they're saying, and they're kind of doing it like in an echo chamber, and
Secret
nobody's
society type
yeah,
world.
nobody's challenging them on their thoughts, because uh discussion is kind of, is needed to kind of to include ourselves. I mean, if you and I just talk to each other and we're always agreeing with each other, we're not really ever challenging like the way we see things, but if we have these ideas with somebody else, and we kind of, and they give us a different perspective, like where they have some new information that we may not know of, and then they kind of say it in a different way, just like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, you know what I mean? Like, well, but and then you could change your idea of what you thought something was based off that conversation. Does that make sense?
In so many words, yeah, it does. Picking up what that was going down.
Yeah. Well, in this, like, it's just kind of, you just talk to someone that always agrees with you. Like, if I believe the Earth was flat for whatever reason, and I just talked with a bunch of people that thought the Earth was flat, and
So
nobody ever
it's
provided
only
me
coming from one perspective. Like you don't even,
right.
yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
you know
So
that's flat upside down on the left.
right. So that's just an example. But my point is that that's kind of why, like, the reason for this podcast. I mean, yeah, we talk about mountain biking and stuff, and that's kind of like the at the forefront of it. But at the same time, it's also to, discuss ideas and talk about certain things, and just kind of give our perspective, and just really try to learn for myself. I speak for myself, and try to grow from that, and then help others do that as well. But just really try to have fun with it. I know this one we're not as laughing as much, but someone would be serious, someone would be funny.
Hey, life situations, you know what I'm saying? It is
Right.
what it is, but it's knowledge, and just still connecting with the outlets and the avenues that we got out here accessible.
So real quick, one of the things I've kind of come to, so one of the things we talked about is mental health, right?
Yeah.
I remember a while back I mentioned, it was probably like in episode 2. I mentioned a YouTube guy that I watch. I forgot what his name is, Doctor. He runs a channel called Suspicious Observer, and it was about the sun, and he monitors this like space weather. And one thing he tied in, I remember I was telling you about like the sun, like, solar flares and how they affect like volcanoes and earthquakes on Earth. And there's like data to show that, et cetera. But they also, fast forward, one of the things he had noted was, hey, the CMEs, CME is a coronal mass ejection. But it's pretty much like when the sun puts out a solar flare, or like it's like a burst, like an explosion on the sun, and it ends up in a solar flare, and then kind of comes to Earth, yada yada. But when those are down, he, along with the space weather, hey, look out for hurricanes, or not hurricanes, but like volcanoes, or earthquakes, the sun activity's up or whatever. When that is down, I had to rewind it and watch it, but he was like, for those of you out there that are experiencing any type of mental issues, I forgot what word he used, but he's like, look forward to that, because like since they were down, it affects. He's talking about how it directly affects like humans, and which was what was crazy. Most of like I probably would just kind of shrugged it off. But what was crazy about that was the day that he was referring to. That day, I was off, man. That like all day, I was off. So I made that direct connection, direct correlation with it. So it's something kind of just to be, noted in the future. As far as, so as I watch it and I see if that's down, if I'm feeling that way,
Like
it's just kind of.
how can you tell if it's down though?
So every day there's a forecast put out, like based off what the sun is doing. So the sun is being monitored like 24/7, and they monitor it through a series of, and I'm not a astrophysicist or what have you, but they use something like a spectrum analyzer, and they monitor the sun and the solar output, the energy is put out, how big the solar flare is. There's a rating of how big a solar flare could be, and how it can impact the Earth based off of the Earth's North Pole and South Pole. I don't know why I'm jacking that up right now, but you know how the magnetic field is affected by the North and South Pole. If I'm jacking that up, I'll put the actual thing in here. But
All
right
right. Yeah.
now,
Okay.
yeah, right, and this isn't conspiracy theory crap. You can look it up, um, and I'll put a link in below. But not he, but NASA monitors the sun, because if there is a solar flare it's big enough where it can impact our grid, our energy grid, which it has in the past, and there are engineers that are actively trying to figure out ways to protect generators and like our national grid from being affected by solar flares.
Mm-hmm.
um, then I was going somewhere with that. So my point is that it is being monitored, and one of the channels like that I've been following this guy for like 6 years. It just kind of piqued my interest because I like
Yeah.
watching things that have to do with space and what have you.
I mean, I agree because like I agree that that is a thing because like every time it's a full moon, like I get extremely jitter spot hungry. You know what I'm saying? I just want to find a woman, just get all on her jitter spots. You know what I'm saying? So
So you think that like
it's direct correlation. Full moon, I
your
want to find me some jitter spots to play
your
with.
your primal wolf is coming out?
Absolutely,
Are you trying to tell
it's
me
heightened. I
are
would.
you
It's already out. It's just heightened.
are you a werewolf? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Not saying that. Not saying that. Not going around biting the wrong things. No.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna be like Marv Albert biting people.
No, that ain't happening. Yes. Not happening.
Yes,
Not happening.
a little bit Marv Albert reference. Can't believe I remembered that name. But there's a lot of science to it. I mean, he references the paper, like the peer reviewed research that is put out with regards to solar output, and he talks about like how it impacts the earth and how it impacts like us as people. And another thing that he's been kind of like touting it, and I do agree with this to a certain extent, that and just because I am not a scientist myself, I am not a you know physicist by any means. I dabble at best, and he was talking about how the global warming or climate change or whatever new reference that is being used, actually, I mean, yes, we do. I do agree with that. Humans do have a direct impact on the climate and what have you, but more so, it's not necessarily just humans that are impacting it. It's the sun. The sun goes through cycles just like the earth does, and the sun drives the cycle of earth. And that makes sense because all our life, not all our life, but life on earth depends on the sun. Does that make sense?
True.
And if the sun is going through a change, then the earth is going to go through a change, and the actual
Domino
earth is
effect. It's
earth is going through a change right now. I was talking about like the magnetic north and south, or the pole reversals, this is what it's called, is going through a change right now, and they've been tracking that for the past, I don't know, 5 6 maybe 10 years. I'm not really sure how long they've been moving, but they've been moving for a while. And when they're not in their place of like setting, then our magnetic shield or magnetic field that protects the earth from solar flares, and you can see those through the auroras up north like Canada, and up there, when they're not at its like set in place, then our magnetic field is like lower. So if the sun were to push out a CME of X, like good size, then that will affect and could affect our power grid, and then everything else
everything will
that
be.
runs on power will be at least temporarily down until it's put back up. But there's a lot more to it. I don't think we have time to. If you guys want us to get more into that, if this kind of drives the discussion and just want to like talking about things like this, and we have some type of discussion going back and forth. I mean, you can call it conspiracy theory, but until you do the research yourself and you actually look up and try to start understanding like how things outside of, if you can like zoom out of just our everyday
Our
information.
scope that we
Yeah,
see, and
yeah,
take a step back, couple
yeah.
steps back.
Yeah, take a couple of steps back, and I think that's kind of one thing where people kind of get locked into, like, their perspective on life is they never zoom out of their current situation. Yeah, like, oh, like my current situation could be just life in the city. That if that's all I know, then that's kind of my world. But if you're able to zoom out, like, well, how's Texas doing? Zoom out a little bit more. How's Kansas? How's the United States doing? How's
How's
you
Virginia?
know
Yeah.
the
How's
rest
Europe?
of the world? How's Europe doing? And that's kind of, like I said, I think we said on last episode, I don't know if that's just a byproduct of being a veteran and kind of going to all these different places around the world.
Yeah, our
But
scope is a lot bigger. So our thought process and the way we wired is different. Is different. We've been a little
right,
bit rewired in certain
right.
aspects.
So then zooming out even further, it's like, oh, I wonder, what space is like. And then you start understanding it, like, from the concept of, us hurling through space, at an exorbitant amount of speed, and our galaxy, the universe, and then multiverses and etc. Um, but just kind of going back to the sun and then paying attention to that, which brings in the question, like, the Egyptians, they worship the sun. And this isn't about belief right now, so don't get wrapped around the axles like, oh, this guy doesn't believe in God or what have you. But it's more so just understanding things from a different perspective and different cultures and different, um, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And if
yeah.
we can understand where we've been and not necessarily discredit other cultures just because they didn't believe in what we believed or they didn't see things how we saw them. I mean, we probably would have believed the same things if we lived back then. And so my point is, we have to learn from our past and understand that I believe on, at least in a spiritual level, ethereal level, depending on what your belief system is, they had a more of an understanding how we were connected to the earth, as opposed to, because I feel like in our modern day society, at least, the way I perceive most people to perceive it, is that we feel that we were like external to the earth, like we just showed up here. We don't really feel like we came out of it, or we, like, I don't know, it's strange, but when we do that, when we don't have a connection to what we, by science or belief or what have you, um, that we came from the earth on some level, then we don't appreciate it. You know, that's why I think we're trying to go to Mars now. We're like, oh, on some level, it's kind of like that's our backup plan. Like, oh, we fucked up this place. We got to move
Wow,
somewhere else.
get out of here. I'm out of here, Joe. Leaving. I
Yeah,
want.
and not everyone's gonna have tickets to go to Mars.
I don't
So
think I can afford that ticket, one way or a round trip.
yeah,
Oh,
me either. I don't even think I can afford to leave the atmosphere.
no, I'm cool. I'll
Yeah,
ride this one. I'll ride this one out.
yeah. So I mean, like I said, if you guys think of other topics or of discussion, I love talking about this stuff and I love kind of processing new ideas. It's not necessarily trying to convince other people. It's just kind of having people kind of zoom out and look at things from a different perspective and try to understand that if we can understand, like, we understood how who we are and what we are, at the very, like, basic organic level, then we can understand, like, where we need to go or how we need to fix, like, what we've done or not done.
And and
And it's not
and just to possibly know what we are capable of and the potential.
exactly, yeah, exactly. Like, we can get into, we could also talk about Elon Musk and his Neuralink. You ever heard about that?
Of course not.
Neuralink is something you can go on YouTube right now and you can, uh, there's a video of, they've already put it in pigs. So Neuralink, the application is to put, the way it was described is like a battery size, um, I don't know, microchip or what have you inside a person's brain. And then the application is right now for, like, people with disabilities that would,
I seen
they
a
can turn.
movie like I seen a movie. It's a couple movies like that.
Well, it's actually a reality now. I mean, it's the applications are within pigs, but he foresees it as, like, for people with disabilities. So like if they're blind, you can turn on that or bridge the pathway between those two points and then give them vision, but or activate other body parts or anything like that. I think
It
believe
was what
that could be.
movie? That was Bloodshot. It was
Excuse
the
me.
movie Bloodshot. It was
So
Vin Diesel.
blood. I haven't seen that movie yet, but yeah, he's done it on pigs, and there's a video where they have the pigs and he brings out the one pig with that has a Neuralink and one that doesn't, and he's talking about how they can put it in and remove it with relatively no side effects, what have you. Which big skeptical on, yeah, bit skeptical on because if you're opening up your head and you're putting something in there, there's going to be some type
It's not gonna
of
be the same. It's not gonna.
it's not yeah it's not going to be this. That's definitely right. It's not going to be the same, but
Something's gonna be different up in there.
and the goal is to overall is kind of put people on the same network, access the internet. And I think that's what will be pitched to a lot of people is like they're going to access the internet through your brain.
Yeah.
Like I can think I can see what you're thinking or what you're looking. I don't know what level of what privacy is going to be, but privacy,
Non-existent. Once you sign this paper, sign your life over, sign your soul
right?
over.
And I imagine it'll probably come out like like drug dealers do it. First one's free.
Yeah. To
Um,
get you hooked, just like the COVID vaccine. It's gonna be free first. There you go. All that.
So yeah, that's not doing too good right now. But like yeah, Neuralink. That so we can talk about things like that. We could talk about other things that are kind of being pushed out that a lot of people aren't aware of, and just kind of open up the discussion and kind of bring that to the audience, and you guys can talk about it in the comments or what have you, and just kind of go from
Lace me
there.
up because just like you guys, I'll be getting this information as well. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah. So I'll put a link for that also in the bottom of that just to. But I think it's kind of me on a personal level from what I know at this point in my life and what I understand things to be like for me is that those capabilities and people probably balk at this and stuff, but I believe capabilities are already present. Does that make sense? Like that's where telepathy, remote viewing, and things like that. If you guys don't know what those are, we could talk about those some other time. But remote viewing is kind of there was a program. You can look all this up. This is common knowledge, not common knowledge, but you can like public record.
If you look for it, you can find it. It's out there.
Yeah, remote viewing is something a program that. Have you ever seen the movie Men That Stare at Goats with
No,
George Clooney?
no,
Is that yes? No?
no.
Oh,
What is
okay.
it? Minutes to goats?
No, Men That Stare at Goats.
No,
It's
never
based
heard.
off a true story. It's kind of quirky and it seems unbelievable, but there was a program run by I believe the CIA that talked about like they and this is we're not the only country. There's other countries that have done it. And remote viewing is something like they put somebody in a dark in a I don't know about a dark room, but in a room by themselves, and they would ask them to look for something in the world that they were looking for, like a person or a building, and start drawing it out. And people were able to do that with great detail. They had no prior, psychic experience or what have you, or no understanding of, any abilities. Some of them were just random people, and the random people were doing it better than some of the people that said they were psychic or what have you.
What
So,
movie?
I mean,
Men and goats.
men that stare at goats.
Men and stare goats. All right, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to see if I can
So
find it
that's kind of
on the
it's
second
that
one.
movie is like loosely based off of. I mean, I don't know how accurate it is, but I do know it's based off a true story. And what it was there was a writer that was trying to do more of his life, and somehow he found his way in Iraq and with a team. And so you got to watch it. You got to watch it. But
I'll check it out. I'll put that on the to-do list.
so going back to Neuralink, I do feel that like like when I say we, I mean like the human race is it's pretty egotistical if you think about it, and pretty narcissistic, I guess is the word, that we're trying to recreate ourselves in a artificial intelligence, form of like, way. Does that make sense? Like, I feel that we're reinventing the wheel But like we're trying to reinvent the wheel for our own, like to say we did it, like we played the idea, we
But that,
played.
I mean, that's human nature though. Like, yeah, something's inventable. Yeah, we want to make it better. We want to put our own stamp on it. That's
Right,
that's inevitable.
and
That's evolution at its finest, right there.
it is. But at one point, does evolution become de-evolution? You know,
Never.
like
That's such a thing.
well, my point is that I guess it would, based off that concept, then we were gonna render ourselves as humans obsolete.
In some people's eyes, some people's
Well,
eyes is like, yeah, this is good, but I'm not going to accept this good. I want to get to better, and then better's good, and I want to get to great, and great's good. I want to get to the bestest of the great. For some people just
right.
don't. Some people just won't settle for, yeah, this is it. This is what the max out of what humans can be. So
So let's just think about, like, let's go back to Neuralink real quick. the Okay, actually let's go like before that. So you know how these Fitbits, like the Fitbits that monitor your sleep and like the
yeah,
Whoop strap and all that stuff. It's
yeah.
like, oh, to see your heart rate and see how many hours you slept. But even though that technology is supposed to help you, what's up?
I just had a thought.
What?
Just like, okay, so like this could be an idea, not to cut you off, but to cut you off because I might forget. So okay, like how Fitbits record like everything, like you were saying. Like, what if there
Right.
was like a condom that recorded like everything that you did, like all your pumps and your strokes and the
That
position and the
there probably
positions and the benefits and the different positions that you chose.
there probably is there. I would imagine it's probably been created or something, like some type of device or what have you that would go on or between or something, that would
It's
kind of
that
go
full
down that
moon. It's
rabbit
that
hole.
full moon we're talking about. That popped in my head.
Yeah. So going back to the Fitbit strap, what that's like, even though you feel like, or we feel that, and if you have one, I'm not trying to knock on you or what have you. This is just thoughts that, that it's a very common thought. I'm not the only one. I'm not the original creator of this thought, but from the concept of you're depending now, it's starting to turn your own, you're turning your own like alarm system over to a technology. You're going to stop listening to, like just how you feel, like, man, I feel like crap today, or I feel like my energy's low or what have you, and pretty much little
So
by little.
what's this Fitbit telling me? What is how is my
Right.
yeah
And what you really need, people really going back to awareness and um, the awareness of just yourself. Like when the more you put your awareness on something else, the more you lose yourself, and you're kind of already being put in a position where you're no longer paying attention to what you need for yourself. And when you put, it's like GPS. GPS is a perfect example.
yeah
GPS, yes, it does make our lives easier, and I do use it at times, and it is a big convenience. But I started realizing that I stopped listening to my own, you know, tracking device in my head of how to get places because I started becoming too dependent on GPS. So now I intentionally try not to use my GPS when I don't have to, you know. And I
yeah.
think we talked about
I
this
did kind
before.
of be I did kind of be relying on that, like to the point of, man, I'm literally grow up around here and I got to use the GPS just to get about 13 blocks. So
Right.
I'm with
So
you on that. I'm
so
definitely with you on
if
that.
you take that basic concept in mind and then you connect the idea of a solar flare, right? And taking out like our phones or what have you, and you lose the idea of how to exist in your own world, then that will cause more panic because you become so dependent on a freaking device, you know what I mean? And you stop listening to your own, you know, yeah, there you go. And that you stop listening to your own you lose your own bearings, and then when you lose your own bearings because you're depending on something else, then you become lost.
Yeah. And I do gain that and use that skill. I do value that as a skill. Like most people don't have that. Like most people just can't turn off the GPS and figure out, okay, this is north, south. All right, well, or just even look up at the sun, but all right, I see where the sun is right now.
Right.
Kind of time it is. Like most people don't even know how to do stuff like that. And I think
And
that, that's an attribute to being, in the military.
so, and also, I think it's an attribute for us growing up without the internet. So we have that different perspective. We knew what
Yeah,
it was like to
getting
look at
into that.
right. We knew what it was like to travel with a map and look at a map and then try to route out our course and then look at signs and things like that to actually get across country,
Compass.
whatever. And but so that's becoming more and more relevant, or not more and more relevant, but it's becoming more of an issue as people are born into technology, and then they start learning to depend on those technologies, and then they start losing sight of themselves, and then they become lost. They become
But
sat.
it's like it may appear like maybe for us that they're lost. But for them, that's their
Well,
normal. That's all that they know.
but if you think, yeah, that's true. But if you look at the actual numbers of how many, like how much suicide has gone up, how much depression has gone up, how much, a whole bunch of mental health issues since the start of the internet to now, you can see. You got to watch The Social Dilemma. If you haven't watched that before, if you haven't watched it, I think I talked about it last time, but you need to check that out.
Yeah.
And it kind of plays into.
I'm one of the worst. I'll admit that too. I'm one of the worst, man, of like watching other podcasts or even for the most point of even documentaries.
Right.
I don't know. I guess I'm kind of self-absorbed in that aspect of like,
No, I don't necessarily think it's being self-absorbed, but so there's a double-edged sword, right? It's kind of like if you there's I never really understood the phrase, ignorance is bliss. Like I understood the concept of it, and but more so now I understand that even more. As you go through life, you learn different things, and the more and more you dig, the more and more you understand, the more and more you get to know. But at the same time, it comes with the stress of knowing, what the possibilities or the highly likely possibilities that could play out in the near future or in the future in general. So on some level, it's kind of like I sometimes wish I didn't know. Does that make sense? But
Mhm.
on some level, I'm kind of glad I know.
I know
This
what I do know right now. Pinky got a pee. Hold on.
There's a story with Christopher Columbus. I actually heard Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about this. How Christopher Columbus was an asshole or a dick. I forget what word he used, and I forget which island that Christopher Columbus has showed up to. But Christopher Columbus had the 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 knowledge that there was going to be an eclipse in X amount of days based off of the scientists at the time, for giving him that knowledge on his journeys. He went to some island, and if you guys know what island this was, it doesn't matter. He went to an island with, natives, and before he left, he was trying to get these natives to give him their food for their long journey. I'm talking about Christopher Columbus. So he was trying to get these natives to give him their food for this long journey. But the natives were like, foraging and what have you, and they gathered all their food for the remainder, amount of time that they needed to survive for, X amount of months or what have you. But Christopher Columbus had the foreknowledge of knowing that there was an eclipse in the next couple of days and they were going to leave. So what he told the villagers or the chief of the village was, if you guys do not give me your food, then I will call on my God and he will block out the sun or the moon. I forgot which one it was. And he will, create havoc for your people. I'm paraphrasing. I wasn't there specifically. So the villagers didn't believe him, or the natives didn't believe him. And then when the eclipse came, they of course got afraid, because I mean that, and it was all because Christopher Columbus had prior knowledge of it. So when the eclipse came, the villagers gave him all their food, and then Christopher Columbus took off. You know what I mean? A day or so after. So my point of that is, it's not if you are armed with the information, then you cannot be, you know, put the hood over your head. You know,
True.
so I took a lot from that story. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was the person that I heard that story from. And he just had Christopher Columbus had the four. He just had the knowledge ahead of time of these people.
Smoke.
Yeah, so leave this podcast with that. But I really appreciate you guys listening. Like I said, we're trying to line up some more people to bring on and interview. So look forward to that. I really don't want to give too much into that just because if
Maybe
it does
even
fall
maybe
through.
even an in-person episode might burn the highway up.
Yeah, so Chuck's talking about coming over here, and I even considered going over there. Just if you're not able to come down for whatever reason, I would like to do it when I'm riding. Dang it, Lotus. I would like to do it when I'm riding, but
Maybe get it.
but if not, I mean, it'd probably be more ideal for you to come down here in case you guys get a snowstorm. But
Yes.
either way, stay tuned for more episodes. We're gonna try to get out one a week at least for the foreseeable future, pending like then nothing else happens or what have you. Lotus, God, slurping all loud. So I guess we'll end it with this. So you guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Yeah, as always, Chug,
Be
do you have
safe out
anything?
there, and hey, plug with the cream. If you want to get the cream, he's gonna put the link down there for the cream and the press to impress. I'm gonna give him that information. Yeah, hey, support each other out here.
Yeah,
Support
support
each
each
other out
other.
here, and let's all get strong out here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is really what we're trying to do. Just trying to, bring information and bring the knowledge to other people and create discussion and kind of grow together, if you will. But thanks for watching and stay tuned as always.
Yep, be
All
safe.
right, man.
Deuces.
Out.